Hi, my name is Alana, and I've been a citizenship and residency by investment consultant for the last 10 years or so. I've lived in Portugal for the last 4 years, and very interesting with all the changes happening in the Portugal Golden Visa program, and more recently the citizenship law that has changed. And one of the things that we've seen change significantly over the last year or so is an increased interest in people wanting to donate to foundations or cultural heritage projects. Now, I think it's quite important that you understand that this is actually a donation. This is not something that you invest in and then become part of a commercial model. So this is really for people that want to donate to their new country of residence that might potentially become their actual home. So I've seen a lot of instances where people have approached me saying, you know what, we're moving there anyway. We want a golden visa for the flexibility, but we don't want to make specifically a fund investment. We'd rather donate into a arts or cultural or heritage project. So many reasons why people do this. If I look at the different types of donations that you can make, so there's two categories. There's a 250,000 euro donation, which is typically the minimum investment amount, and that's for foundations that are registered in the bigger cities or towns in Portugal. You can make a 200,000 euro donation if the foundation is registered in a less densely populated area. So there's those two categories available, but the types of foundations that operate within each of these are also different. So I've specifically been asked to help the Mario Soares and Maria Barroso Foundation to raise capital for their project called 2513. Now, they are based in Lisbon, so it's a 250,000 euro donation project. And because of the subject matter, it will be specifically appealing to people whose civil liberties, for instance, are currently under pressure due to conflict, political changes. 2513 is about the first woman who voted in Portugal in 1911. So it's a very emotive story that tells the story of how she stood on her principles and on her rights as the head of the household and used the loophole in the regulation that allowed her to vote in that particular year. Of course, it took many years afterwards before women really got their right to vote in Portugal. But it's a very good example of foundations that do important work in terms of protecting civil liberties and women's rights specifically. And that's a project that a lot of people will feel strongly about donating towards. There's another project that I'm involved with in cooperation with the University of the Algarve, and this is a project called South Border. Once again, it's a film adaptation of a rather darker part of Portugal's history. It's not a pretty story. There's more information in the link below. But this is a minimum donation option of 200,000 euros. So I think these are typically, in my experience over the last year or so, getting more involved with donation options. These are options where people would come to me and say, you know what, we really want to become residents in Portugal, but we don't have €500,000 that we want to invest, or we do have €500,000. We want a golden visa for the flexibility. Yes, I know you can do a D7 or a D8, but that's not what we're talking about here. Golden visas give you more flexibility in terms of movement. But people would come to me and say, I have €500,000 or 600,000 euros, but I also want to spend a bit of money actually spending some time in Portugal. I want to, for instance, make a real estate investment or have other uses for my capital. So sometimes people choose to donate, and then they just want to have the minimum possible option, which is a 200,000 euro donation to one of these foundations. So people do choose based on what their personal circumstances are. Quite interesting to note, people kind of ask me why hasn't this been promoted in the past? And for the simple reason that foundations in Portugal have not traditionally been great commercial institutions, right? So the option became available to invest in these foundations, but they didn't have a commercial entity. They didn't know how to approach the market. They didn't know how to find people like me to help them raise capital. And today we have a couple of organizations in Portugal that are specifically created to project manage and to partner with foundations. And the foundation has to be registered at an organization called GPAC in order to qualify. So it's highly regulated, but we now have commercial entities that help these foundations to raise capital. So having this renewed focus on donation and cultural heritage options doesn't mean that the fund investment opportunity is suddenly less attractive, right? There's just different markets for different people. And my experience over the last 6-7 years since the fund investment opportunity became available in Portugal is that it attracts a very particular type of investor that's looking to diversify their capital, that's looking to diversify their currency exposure, people that actually understand the benefit of investing in the fund, in an investment market in Portugal. There are multiple funds available that invest in very particular private equity or venture capital opportunities, for instance, in renewable energy, in the hospitality sector, in the agricultural sector. And we have multiple open-ended funds that invest in similar categories, but also give us the daily liquidity that lots of our investors are looking for. Important though, just remember, if you make a fund investment, even if the fund is open-ended, and you're getting that daily liquidity or the opportunity to redeem, if you sell your investment before your 5-year term is up or before you apply for permanent residency, you will lose the golden visa investment. So from that point of view, it's quite it's illiquid, so it should be seen as a long-term investment. So there's all these different investment opportunities available, and I think when you have a look at what it is that you're trying to do, you should think about where's your capital best spent. How do you want to diversify your existing portfolio? What can you afford? What would you like to contribute to? And what is your opportunity to diversify your current investment portfolio? Thank you.